If you're going to do it though, it certainly puts you in a position that forces you into the fire to some extent. Again though, you still have to be able to capitalize on hitting on a chick, but you're going to get more like volleys served to you on a silver platter. Like, you know, somebody like sets you up for a spike in like volleyball or something. Those situations that are like really easy, like silver platter give me's, become a lot more. What's up guys, Derek, moreplacemoredates.com. Today we are going to be talking about being a bouncer. So a lot of people have been asking me to put up my bouncing stories and whatnot, and I thought, you know, there's a lot of different things that happen during that job, and I think one of the first things that should be touched on is, should you become a bouncer? Is it a good, viable career choice? I'll tell you off the bat, as far as a long-term career, obviously it's not the ideal thing. However, when you are young and you are still in the social scene, like downtown, in the night scene, whatever you want to call it, obviously, again, this is going to be, let me preface this by saying this is entirely dependent on the situation of the party lifestyle, like where you live right now. Because obviously my opinion is based on before all of this stuff happened. So with what's going on in the world right now, it kind of depends on where you live for this to even make sense, or if things go back to normal. So let's just say pending things are normal-ish where you live, or things go back to normal, is it worth it? So if you're young and you are really into okay, first of all, when it comes to getting girls, I think personally the most time efficient and productive way to do it is doing it yourself, not trying to put yourself in a position where a job, you know, forces you to be on the clock for 5, 6, 7 hours. And then, yeah, you're placed in positions where you can talk to girls, but that's not your primary job. Whereas otherwise you could be in school getting it done, on the way to the gym, on the way to the grocery store, going out at nighttime on your own, and then actually being able to capitalize on the spot. Because a lot of the stuff when it comes to getting girls at nighttime, especially when it's night game, is time intensive. You can't just like make things, you know, some chick is like ready to roll and she's, you know, gonna ditch her friends for you. It's a lot more problematic to be like, well, I get off my shift at like fucking 4 a.m. So just chill until then, and then we can go. So, you know, you can collect a good amount of numbers and you can get some chicks that'll hang around with you and then come home with you after. But, you know, it still comes down to if you're going to be able to talk to them or not. You can be a bouncer and get absolutely nothing if you suck and you don't want to talk. So the only reason why it's good in that regard mainly is because it forces you into a position that you otherwise may not be comfortable putting yourself in. And you have a little bit of a social proof in that you are seen as an authority figure in the club or the bar or whatever it is. So the girls are, you know, going to be more drawn to you just by the nature of your position. Yeah, as opposed to some random dude at the bar. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking to chicks, it's a lot more, I don't know, they're more willing to accept you hitting on them than some random guy at the bar often, because it's not like you're there trying to hunt for chicks, rather you're there for work. So it's like the sort of implied, you know, like creepiness or like hunting factor is like not there. You're just some guy who's doing your job and you just so happen to be talking to this chick. And yeah, as opposed to a guy who's like literally drove from, you know, a city 20 minutes away to pay cover to get into a place in order to talk to her. So there's a bit of a different like dynamic in that regard, and it can give you a little bit of a leg up in the social proof aspect, as well as the fact that you just know a lot of people there because you work there. So you know other chicks, you're talking to other chicks, chicks see you talking to other chicks, you're talking to all the dudes because you know all the dudes, they're all buddies with you. It all works significantly in your favor. But it's still problematic when your shift literally will not end until like 4 to 4:30 a.m. By the time you're done, you really don't feel like doing anything. You feel like going home and sleeping. You know, like your dating life becomes pretty difficult in that the time when chicks are normally free, you can't really go on dates anymore, because at nighttime from like, you know, 9 to fucking 4 a.m., you're at the club, as opposed to normally, you know, you would go out for a date and then, you know, go home with a chick after the date. And it's like all of a sudden all your dates have to become like daytime dates or nighttime dates on days that people typically aren't free. And it becomes kind of annoying because all the time you're working on the Fridays, the Saturdays, the Sundays, stuff like that. So it has its pros and cons, certainly. But what I would say is, if you're an individual who literally cannot get yourself to throw yourself into the fire on your own, by that I mean you just don't have the balls to go start approaching on your own, or you're just not having success with online dating, by all means, get a bouncing job if it's, you know, something you are comfortable with and you think you would be a good fit for the club or the bar or whatever it is. Like obviously you have to sort of fit the position too. Sometimes they're looking for a specific look. Sometimes they're just looking for a massive dude. Sometimes they're looking for guys who, you know, whatever. So if you're going to do it though, it certainly puts you in a position that forces you into the fire to some extent. Again, though, you still have to be able to capitalize on hitting on a chick, but you're going to get more like volleys served to you on a silver platter. Like, you know, somebody like sets you up for a fucking spike in like volleyball or something. Those situations that are like really easy, like silver platter give me's, become a lot more frequent without you having to do the initial work. So you're going to get a lot more of them on your own if you actually put in the work, because it's time efficient and you can literally just plow through approaches all day if you have the balls to do it yourself. But if you're not going to do it regardless, putting yourself in a position where you're going to get these silver platter volleys in order to actually capitalize on a situation you otherwise wouldn't have created yourself, yeah, bouncing can help you do that for sure. And the main thing though, I think, is honestly like the camaraderie, the guys you meet through bouncing. Like you find a lot of like-minded individuals and guys who kind of are into the same shit as you when you do this stuff. You find guys who are into bodybuilding, you find guys who are into going out, having fun. You know, it's pretty fucking easy to click with a lot of the dudes that are on the same page as you. Because if you're even looking to become a bouncer in the first place, it's highly likely that a lot of the guys that are bouncing have similar mindsets to you, where they actually felt like this job would be fun. They meet other dudes that are like them too. It's just like, you know, it's very likely you're going to meet some good dudes through the bouncing gig. And then through that, you know, you build a better social circle that's actually, you know, down to go out at nighttime. Like a lot of guys I know, for example, back in the day, if they had a girlfriend, they would never want to leave their house. They'd just be locked down to their house for forever. You know, like they would want to stay home and do absolutely shit all. So then if you were single, you know, any of your friends that were wifed up, they'd just be like out of the fucking realm of conversation for as a guy who's going to go out with you and hang out with you when you go out at night. So, you know, the guys you meet through bouncing are the best guys to go out with at nighttime typically. And they're obviously well connected, because when you go out, you know, it's a lot easier to get hookups and like skip the lines and blah, 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 when you know all the bouncers in the, you know, community, I guess, or like the circuits or whatever it is, like all the clubs in the area kind of thing. And it makes nightlife a lot funner when you're like well connected, obviously, and you have this kind of like pre-existing social proof that helps you kind of you know, vet yourselves to girls like before you even meet them. So yeah, honestly, if you are in your bubble too much and you can't get yourself out of it, by all means, try a bouncing job. It might be good for you. And especially if you don't have a lot of like-minded guy friends, or you have all your friends are like wifed up and shit, and you're basically like the lone wolf always trying to go out at nighttime and have a good time. It's really easy to meet like-minded guys who will be more conducive to, you know, helping you reach your goals and have fun on the weekends and shit when you do bouncing. Now it becomes a lot harder to actually find those days to go out because you're always fucking working, but you can make the night pretty fun while you're working still, because you're already you're in that environment inherently, because you're literally at the club doing your job. So while you can't like party, you're sort of like 1/4 partying, like 3/4 like actually doing your work, if that makes any sense, even though it's kind of not the case. But you can still talk, you would still end up talking to people the same way you would even if you were there on your own, not working kind of thing. So, you know, it's definitely a good position for guys who are in their bubble. You know, the lonesome bodybuilder guy who otherwise would just, you know, go home and eat his chicken and rice and go to the gym, and the only person he talks to is the chick at the front counter who scans in his fucking key. Like that kind of guy should get a bouncing job, in my opinion. So anyways, as far as if it is conducive, it can be if you are too much of an introvert to really get out of your bubble and do it yourself. So obviously the most time efficient way is to go bust out of your, you know, comfort zone on your own, and you can literally go do whatever you want. You're not constrained to the time frames of your job or, you know, your crazy night shifts and whatnot. But if you're not going to do it, you got to put yourself in an environment that forces you into it. So that is where the bouncing job excels, and you meet a lot of cool dudes through it. So anyways, that is the intro to the bouncing stuff. Or I had done a couple videos on bouncing before, but this is a good intro to just the overall general dynamic, if I think it's worth it for a specific individual. Yeah, like the reason I did it mainly was just because I was kind of at the tail end of like kind of wanting to get the nightlife out of my system. And I don't know, I just thought it'd be fun. You know, I was just like, a lot of my friends, like I said, were wifed up, and it was hard to find guys who wanted to go out at nighttime on the weekends. I was like, fuck, well, I might as well put myself in a position where I'm like literally in there anyways. So, you know, it was just like a no-brainer. Like for me, it more came by accident because I had a friend who needed somebody to fill a position. I kind of got like referred, and I was like, well, that would be, you know, might be fun. It's something to check off the bucket list, you know, go bounce at a nice club downtown and like see what that's like. So certainly different than going out solo or going out with like one of your like PUA bros that you met on the fucking forums or something. Not that those guys aren't cool, by the way. I've met some of my best friends through some of the really old forums and stuff. But yeah, definitely puts you in an environment that's very conducive to progressing and getting you out of your comfort zone and having a good time and meeting a lot of people who you might become very good friends with down the line. So definitely encourage it for a lot of guys probably watching this channel. If you are into more plates, more dates, like that's pretty fucking like in line with the balancing in my opinion. So, you know, it's something to think about. You know, hopefully in your area, the nightlife isn't fucking decimated. And might be something to look into. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram, and moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. Talk to you guys soon.